Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Greetings, Algo Artisans. It is Sunday, June the 29th, and we're going to take a look at some charts today. We're going to see NASDAQ, USDJPY, BTC USD, that's Bitcoin, EURUSD, AUDUSD, GBPJPY, and gold. Before we get into the charts, we're going to take a look at some of the economic data that can affect these charts. And before we do that, go down to the description, get your free algo. The link is in the description. Give us a real name, fake name, we don't care. Give us your email address. We'll send you an algo, as well as remind you when these updates come out and some other free offers are coming. Okay, let's jump into the economic data over on Forex Factory. Monday, not a lot of data, but Tuesday, there is some significant data. 9:30 a.m. EST, a lot of central bank heads speak. We got ECB, that's the European, the British, the Japanese, and the US central bank heads are all going to speak on what I believe is a panel, and that can shake markets up. Right after that, 10 a.m. EST, there are some other data coming out, some manufacturing PMI data and job openings. So once that data is out and markets are predictable, then I would definitely take advantage of that volatility. Let's take a look at Wednesday, 8:15 a.m. EST. We have ADP non-farm employment change, and that's a USD metric. Thursday, right after the European Open, Swiss CPI. 8:30 a.m. EST, we have on Thursday average hourly earnings, non-farm employment change, and the unemployment rate. Last bit of data that comes out this week before Friday, which is a US holiday, is the ISM Services PMI, and that is going to be at 10 a.m. EST. And Friday, there's no data coming out, and the US banks are closed. I'll probably take the day off, spend it with family. There's probably not going to be a lot of volatility that day unless there is surprise news. So let's jump into the charts. Quick reminder, what you see on the charts is just a prediction, and it is not meant to be used as, say, hey, I'm going to trade this, right? Because this is a general idea of what I think is going to happen. It's not precise. There is a little bit of precision that goes into it, but in the end, I wouldn't be trading based on this. It's just an idea for what the trend is, where some levels might be, and then as the week goes on, particularly on Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, and Thursday morning, I reevaluate. Now, last week, we did have quite the surprise opening, and my predictions on Monday morning that I sent privately to Algo Factory really were very accurate for the rest of the week. The Sunday predictions, some of them were good, some of them were not. So let's take a look at the NASDAQ. I expect just to climb up on the NASDAQ. We could have a surprise Monday opening, hence this secondary path this way, and all of the charts will reflect some possible divergence based on those speeches on Tuesday from Powell and then the other data that comes after that. So you'll see that, but with the NASDAQ, I keep expecting it just to run up hard. I expect it to kind of crawl until it doesn't, and it should run to the upside. Now, there always is the chance of a pullback, but right now the charts are extremely bullish. I expect really just grinding up and new all-time highs. I do expect price eventually to make its way to 24,800 or so. There's a target a little higher than that, about 25,000, basically, to keep it really simple. But I don't know how long it's going to take for price to really break out of this current pattern that's kind of the slow grind up. But usually when you see a slow grind up, there is a strong breakout to the top side. Now, the summer is usually pretty slow. And one big thing we have to keep in mind with all the predictions is that in a certain sense, it's not the fiscal year per se, but a lot of the apportionments that are affecting, say, geopolitics, like for example, the money that we gave to Ukraine, that kind of thing, that expires next week. And the first half of the year, the end of the second quarter, is Monday. So Tuesday could really surprise us. And for all the central bank heads to be talking on the first day of the next quarter, let's just say that's probably not a coincidence, right? There's probably something afoot. So price could really be unpredictable at that time. But if the algos are going to rule the day, then what I've drawn is the case. But I do expect at some point a breakout to the upside and then a move up to 25,000 NASDAQ. And that's huge. I mean, you're talking about a 10-15% gain. That's big. That's huge. Might not happen till the fall, but that's the next target. It could do all kinds of things until it goes there, but it also could just break to the upside, especially if we see a rate cut. We'll see though. That's way into the future. I don't trade that far into the future. I just trade what I see in the charts. Let's move on to USDJPY. USDJPY kind of really selling off a little bit, but the dollar is getting a bit stronger, right? So that's why we're seeing the move down slow down. And I think we're probably going to see price have a downward sort of sideways push. The support locally right now is at 143.75. I expect price to grind down that way, or it could just go sideways, but that's what the algos are saying. A slow grind downward and then maybe going sideways for a bit. Nothing too exciting right now. We'll see how it goes. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin heading up. I did predict it would head up to the Algo Factory members this morning, probably to 108. And I told them that when price was sitting at about 107.324. Now it's at 108.136. So it really could continue to head up. And I think this week we'll probably see it head up to 109 area. And it's Bitcoin, so it always could break out topside and head up to test 110. But at least I expect just a crawl up, given that no big surprises happen on Tuesday, where you see these divergent kind of things that can happen. So I'd be very careful with all my trades when Tuesday morning comes up. I'd have tight stops and kind of be ready to pivot to a new plan. We'll see how that goes. Let's take it EURUSD. EURUSD looks like it may break out soon. It might go sideways a bit longer, but it's just nothing but bullish right now, and I expect it to head up. There's not really any resistance up until 119 or so. So right now my targets would be based just on fibs, and the fib targets are sitting right at 117.85 and 118.41. That's where I expect price to touch this week, probably. Again, Tuesday is really unpredictable, so be very careful about that. Let's move on to AUDUSD. AUDUSD has been orderly, so I've kept it on the charts. I like to have orderly stuff to trade. I didn't really trade it last week. It was a slow grind down. I expect it now to kind of go a little sideways and up until it breaks out, and I think it will break out and head up. And again, I'm using fib targets for the same reason, not a lot of structure to look at. So the fib targets for that long would be 65.85 or maybe 66.12, maybe a little higher than that. So I'd look around those areas, 66.13 in terms of dollars for that. And again, Tuesday is the big wild card. We'll see if anything crazy happens that day. Let's take a look at the beast, GBPJPY. Now the beast is bullish. It does want to crawl up, but it is up against substantial resistance. So what that could mean is that it ignores that resistance and just breaks out. It might even go out a lot faster than what I said. And it could be like it is with Bitcoin, where it just runs up really hard, really fast, right? So I'll just put that blue surprise path arrow in there. The next resistance I have for this is up at about 199.82 in terms of yen. So it could go up there, or it might take all week to crawl up there. Now, because of those resistances and where the algos are, we could see some sharp pullbacks as well, and I do expect them to be around the 197 area, 197.25. Those pullbacks can happen, and they could even go deeper, but I expect them to happen there. So the move up could get interrupted by those because of where the algos are. The pullbacks could be rather sharp. So let's take a look at gold. Now gold is actually pretty bearish. It probably will see some absorption of the bears up to a point as price approaches $3,100. Now price could go ahead and continue down without any kind of pullbacks, but just based on how it's been doing, I do expect a pullback sooner than later. So I would count more on price evening out, finding a little bit of support around this 3,200, because 3,200 is an important number. A bit of support right there. It may head up to grab some liquidity and then head back down. Something along these lines. Gold has been a bit unpredictable, a little bit, but ever since the bearishness kicked in, it has been predictably bearish. So we might see price just kind of slowly go up to grab liquidity and continue down. And I think 3,100 is a good place for price to reach this week. But again, Tuesday being the wild card that it is, we'll see what happens with that. Thank you all for watching. Again, last week on Monday morning in Algo Factory, in the private live lab, once the news came out over the weekend, once we knew that the war was looking a certain way, I went in and I did some predictions for these charts, and they were almost all correct. I had a couple that were not perfect, but I had one that was not that great. But I'm going to tell you what is that? 6 out of 7? That's pretty good. Yesterday was a tricky weekend, and even some of the predictions were still correct based on Sunday's video, despite the tricky weekend and the war and all that. Well, all that's calmed down now. The trick this week is going to be quarter 2 ending and quarter 3 starting. That could throw a wrench in the works. But if you watch Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the morning, live on YouTube, right here on this channel, you'll be able to see me reevaluate if there's new information. Now, Algo Factory goes on for another hour or so after that. So Algo Factory gets a private live lab where they can request charts, and we get a lot more in detail, and V the Gorilla comes on and does his geopolitical thing. And this is what we do at Algo Factory. We go over the market, and we also teach you how to build your own trading algo. Now, if you take a look at, say, the daily chart, you see that tab right there. That's one of the algos I built. right? This green tab here, you can see they're pretty darn accurate. Or if I were to head down to the 30-minute chart, you can see all these tabs right here. That's a win, that's a win, that might be a loss, but that's a nice big win. So the algo that I've created is pretty darn accurate, and it's not even my best algo. And we help you to get on the path to doing this, developing your own algo so you can extract money from the markets on a regular basis. I like to trade Forex and put my money into things like crypto or gold or things like that. All of that to say, if you come over to Algo Factory, we can help you learn how to do this yourself. We want to teach you how to fish, not feed you fish. That said, I do share my trades. You get to see how I'm trading, but again, we're not a signal service. We just help you learn how to do it. Thank you for watching. Come on through Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. EST sharp. We'll get into the markets. Don't forget, free algo link in the description, and we'll send you updates for more of our free offers. And we hope to see you Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. sharp. Thanks for watching.